Welcome to Beyond the Brochure. I'm Wendy, an independent travel advisor, cruise specialist, and lover of meaningful travel experiences. In this podcast, I'll be sharing honest cruise reviews, destination discoveries, travel stories, and things you won't always find in the marketing brochures. So grab yourself a drink, get comfortable, and let's travel a little further beyond the brochure together. This month's title is What Do We Notice When We Stop Rushing? I've been thinking a lot about why we rush through our holidays. We spend so long looking forward to them, and then sometimes they turn into just another timetable. We want to see everything, we want to do everything, and we want to make every moment count, and that's understandable, but what do we actually notice? And what do we notice when we stop rushing? Can you remember a holiday when you came home needing another holiday? In fact, that has been me on several occasions in the past. The first one was quite a significant one. And in actual fact, when I came back from this particular one, I booked another straight away. The one I'm talking about is 2020, when I did the Everest Base Camp trek. I came back from that in October, the end of October 2020, and within a couple of weeks I'd booked to go to Australia in 2021 because I really needed a holiday. But why was that? I'm not actually delighted by early starts, and this trek really did need us to get up early and make a start, because 6 to 8 hours of walking each day, you can't stay in bed. Not that they were very comfortable and you'd really want to stay in them anyway, but that's another story. So each morning began early, whether I liked it or not. We walked, as I said, for at least 6 hours a day, sometimes more. And at altitude, you cannot hurry. So however much you wanted to get there, you couldn't. You had to take it steady. And your body decides how fast you can go. Me, I was always at the back. Everyone had always arrived before me. Most of the time they'd already started to eat by the time I arrived, but not a great feeling. But in some ways it was nice because at least I had my own company, and it was one of those. The idea of a podcast is to talk, but as soon as I start talking about this, I actually go quiet because of the memories that I have about travelling up there alone. But, it's an experience. So you'd get up in the morning, you had to eat, you had no choice because you had to get energy inside you. It was cold, very cold. The altitude made me have headaches, and a lot of the time you couldn't actually remember where you'd put things. So everything had to be packed in bags, which I'd labelled, so I knew what was where and what was dirty and what was clean. The benefit of this was obviously the views, outstanding scenery that is still totally unbelievable to me. But the things that made me stop were clouds, as well as wanting to stop for a break, but you were so high and the clouds were so beautiful that it really did make me stop. This makes me think about why we are often kinder to ourselves when circumstances force us to rest than when we choose to rest. Maybe we don't always need more time. Maybe we just need permission to use our time differently. So at home, stopping can feel lazy or indulgent, but when you're doing something like walking, stopping is a necessary thing to do, because you need to get your breath back, you need to rest. And it's also then a nice time to take in the views and do something that you wouldn't probably do at home. Slow travel doesn't really mean doing nothing. Travelling slowly is not the same thing as sitting still for your entire holiday. Everest was physically demanding. You're moving for hours, but you're fully inside the journey as well. So everything around you was part of the experience. So slow travel can be adventurous, exciting and challenging. It doesn't mean travelling slowly. I think it's probably more about intention. Touring holidays are probably the same sort of thing, but probably less extreme. So touring holidays can be a wonderful way to take a break because they allow us to see places that we may not visit alone. But too many early starts and packaged days can make every place seem to blur into the next. Some of the best itineraries will include free time deliberately so that you can do your own thing. A touring holiday where every day is back to back with trips and things to do is probably not the best idea in the world. A lot of people think that when they see an itinerary where there's a free afternoon or whatever, that it's an empty space that the tour operator forgot to fill. It isn't. It is intentional. And when I'm looking at trips, I actually look for ones where maybe there's a day where you don't do anything, or at least an afternoon. You need some time to sit. Maybe if you're in a place where you can just sit in a cafe and watch local life, you can go back to somewhere, because if you're in a touring holiday with other people, then you may not be able to spend as much time somewhere as you like. So you can always go back to something that you want to pay more attention to. It's also really, really nice to wander around without somebody telling you facts or pointing things out. It's nice to actually wander and then see things for yourself that interest you, because guides and things, yes, it's wonderful to have someone telling you about something, but it's also nice to explore on your own. You also get time, if you want to, just to do nothing. If you want to go to your room and nap, if you want to sit on a balcony, if you want to sit by the pool, doing nothing or reading or whatever, it's such a nice way to relax. And it's also a nice way to think about what you've already seen. So free time allows the destination to become part of the experience rather than being part of an itinerary. I think as well, the pressure that we have when we travel, we spent a lot of money. Annual leave, if you still work, is very precious. You feel like you want to make the most of every moment. And some journeys can be a once-in-a-lifetime trip, especially if they're any distance away. Say, for example, Australia, or maybe they're expensive. Antarctica, somewhere like that, that's cost a lot, not only in time, but in money too. And it's understandable that we want to fit everything in, but making the most of it doesn't always mean doing the most. I think I see it a lot, or I saw it a lot in the past when I did different types of holidays, especially the cruise, some of the earlier cruises that I did, where I mixed with different nationalities. There are differences in the way we all experience life. There are some nationalities who, when they travel to Europe, for example, need to see everything, do everything. They get off the ship, they run. I have met a couple who on a cruise in around the Adriatic and Italy, who got off the ship every day and ran to see all the places on their bucket list, such as the Colosseum, the Forum, but they didn't actually experience any of Italy. They just saw the sights, which is fine if you're 20 or 30 and you enjoy running, but they didn't actually do anything, which sort of something that always stuck with me. You can see things, but you can't experience them. And I think that experiencing as we get older is something which probably is more important to us, rather than racing just to mark things off our bucket list. Could making the most of a place mean staying longer to feel the feeling that you have there? And these days I would probably pick a much different cruise line. And there are some now that do overnights in ports, which means you can actually stay longer. You can go out and experience the nightlife and still come back to a nice cabin, nice staff, without having the pressure to be back for the coach. You've only got 4 or 6 hours and you've got to see it all, and you're not going to see it. But with these more modern cruise lines now, especially the ones that take it slowly, you can see a lot more. Talking of cruises, there's something which I think is really undervalued, and that's sea days. Most people, or a lot of people that go on cruises, like to have a massive itinerary which is very port intensive. If they see cruises with many sea days, it's boring. What's there going to be to do? And it's not going to be very interesting. But it's far from it. In actual fact, a sea day is a fantastic, or even more than one sea day actually. Just think about the transatlantics. You can do so much. It's a total relaxer, and that is a total relaxation because, yes, there are things you can do on board. There are so many things like lectures, games, learning opportunities, films, all sorts of things. There's no fixed things apart from eating and well, we can all get up and get ready to eat. But so there's no pressure for you. That is truly relaxing. So one of the things I often think about is, why can a day with nowhere else to be feel so unfamiliar? And I think that's because we always think we have to be doing something. I actually wrote a blog post on that about how sea days are great, so it's worth checking that out as well. One thing I am particularly interested in trying is a transatlantic on the Queen Mary 2, not just because she is she's an icon. I'm really drawn to trying out the idea of a traditional transatlantic where you get on board at Southampton and a week later you arrive in New York. It's something that we've done, or I have done, flying to New York and having a holiday there. But I think arriving by boat, or especially by ship, such a beautiful ship, and taking time to do it, just relaxing, because it's not something that we do very often. So that is certainly something that appeals to me. So what do Everest, a planned tour and a transatlantic journey give us? I think they give us time to notice, time to feel, time to connect with who we are, and time for the journey to become a memory rather than a list. We often expect to remember a famous sight, yet sometimes the strongest memory can be a cup of tea, a view from a path, a conversation, or just the changing light on the sea. I think that sometimes the most unscheduled moments can be some of the best. Travelling slowly doesn't mean travelling less. It doesn't mean avoiding adventure. It means allowing ourselves to be present inside the trip itself. We don't have to earn a quiet moment. We don't have to fill every space. Perhaps travelling slowly is not about how quickly we move. Perhaps it's about giving ourselves enough time to notice that we are here. And then perhaps one last question. On your next journey, what might you notice if you allowed yourself to slow down?